Howdy doody, welcome back to the ranch. My name is Mick. This behind me is a 1979 Kenworth W900A model. This here classic semi-truck has a big cam 400 engine as well as an Eaton 13-speed transmission. Today, we're gonna find out if this old girl is gonna run and drive 350 miles from Indiana back to Ohio without leaving me on the side of the road. Farm truck 79. Okay, I was scared of that. Let's get started. Good morning. It's about 6 o'clock. Jared is my ride today, so he just showed up, just loaded up his truck. Heading westbound today, about 4.5 hours there, and I'm gonna say 6 hours back, hopefully. Head west, I'll update you when we get there. Here we are in the middle of nowhere, and I got the truck. I drove away because the owner actually met me. This was still on the farm, and he was nice enough to store this thing for like 6 months for me, you know, because I bought it in the winter, so he kept it here until we had some good weather, where just in case, you know, it's better to travel in nice weather. So we got a beautiful day for it. First impressions, this thing is in great shape, but it's definitely got its kinks. I think it's definitely more quirky than my Peterbilt is, as far as things I gotta kind of figure out about it, or things that are like broken but not really necessary to have, so we never really fixed them or repaired them. But the important thing is I got brakes, even though one of my pads just seized up and broke off and fell in the middle of the road. I went back and got it, but well, Jared picked it up for me. I think we're good to go. I want to get this thing on the road and just hit it. You know, I don't want to lollygag around. I got a long drive back, so I'm gonna hit the road. Hopefully everything goes all right, but only one way to find out. I'll take you through more of it later. got it. Made it to a fuel stop. First impressions, gears are a little bit harder to find in the Peterbilt, but I mean, it's running good, starts right up, brakes are good, tires are great. I think whichever truck I decide to keep, I'll probably swap the good wheels and tires off of one and throw it on the other. I'm letting the oil settle. I didn't check that before I left. I just wanted to get out of the guy's hair. He had places to be. He seemed pretty confident in it. I think it's a little low on oil. I'm gonna try and let the oil settle back into the pan, check it again. But I picked up some oil, probably just top it off. Filled up, should be ready to go. But essentially what we have here is a 79 Kenworth W900. It's basically the same exact truck as my Peterbilt. It's got a Cummins 855 in it. I believe it's the small cam. I was looking at it, and I think on one of the sides, if it's a big cam, you should see like a bump out from where the cam is because it's bigger. I think it's this side that it's supposed to be. Right around this neck of the woods, there should be like a protruding space. But 855 nonetheless, reliable engine, and then Eaton 13 speed. He was taking me through a couple of the quirks about it and stuff before I hit the road, which I appreciate. But so far we're running all right. I was running 65 on the way here, and it was comfortable. We'll go more into detail later. I'm hoping I can just make it home, no frills, but we'll see. It was sitting for a long time. I actually, like I mentioned about the brakes, I think the driver's side front here was seized up, and I was able to get it to break loose, but it actually broke the pad in half, and I can see the bottom pad is cracked too. Brakes feel good otherwise. I am noticing that we have a lot of grease buildup. You know, we're leaking oil a little bit, which is why I wanted to check the oil, because we must be losing it somewhere. And then I already got a puddle sitting there. I'm not sure what that canister is that it's coming from, to be honest, but it looks like it's been leaking for quite some time because that mud flap's got some buildup on it for sure. So, and then other than that, I also noticed, I wish I would have noticed before I drove away, but we had a little robin's nest sitting here. Luckily, I was talking to my buddy about it before he hit the road. A lady overheard us, and she came over and she said that she has hens at home that will sit on them, and hopefully they'll be all right. They look to be in good shape. One of them was cracked, so that one was already too far gone, but the other ones were still in pretty good shape, so hopefully they make it. I was glad she took them because I didn't really know what to do with them. If the humane thing would be just to leave them out for predators to get to, or break them yourself, just to, I don't know, what do you do? Yeah, so other than that, the interior definitely had some mice in it. I'm smelling a little musty, but it's still a nice interior. Got the original steering wheel on it. This thing is a boat wheel, man. And then obviously in my Peterbilt I have that Corvette dash. This is just a regular flat dash, but it's in good shape. I mean, you can clean this thing up pretty easy, and it would shine up pretty nice. Door cards are still in nice shape, leather's all good. So I'm looking forward to the drive home, but at the same time, you know, you get a little nervous, just hoping I can make it without any trouble. So let's top this thing off, get back on the road. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that I got oil just on the end of the stick, and of course this stick's been soldered back together before, so of course I didn't realize the rag I was using is soaked in rat urine. Yeah, it'll be probably fine. I put about half of this in there. Yeah, about a quart and a half, so should be all right. just driving by. This is a cool place to stop. An old Legion post, but you know, they got the classics. Tank in one corner. That thing is sweet. Now, I don't know anything about tanks, but it'd be cool to have one. Now you got chopper all over there, plane over there. Fairmount Post 313. Pretty nifty. I think this might make a good thumbnail. Man, gotta love a small town with a cool American Legion. This thing is sweet. Look at her. Ah, that's cute. Dang. Black Widow. That's awesome. F4 Phantom 2, first test flown in May of 1958. I think sweet. But for me, my trusty steed out there is doing pretty good. It's a good looking truck. I mean, head turner for sure. I think I've been driving for like a half an hour. I've already had 2 thumbs up from other truck drivers, and then I had a guy filming me as I passed by, and then he actually drove past me, got up ahead of me so he could film me doing a drive-by. It's a cool truck. I mean, there's no doubt about that. The dual pipes definitely makes it seem like, you know, maybe there's a good amount of work done to it or something, but you know, I don't know who put those dual pipes on there. They look good, but I don't think she's a performance machine myself, but she'll pull for sure. But like I said, it's going pretty good, so let's jump back on the road. I definitely have a good oil leak coming from that piece. I'm about to figure out what that is, but we'll just keep our eye on it. Oil pressure's reading good, sitting at idle, it's like 35. Water temperature's been 180 the whole time. I'm hoping these are accurate. Pin this thing back on the road, keep on moving. We are back in Ohio. Still going pretty good. I don't know if you heard or felt on camera that bump that I just hit right when we were passing the sign. But this being Camelback, you feel the big bumps for sure. No doubt about that. Other than that, going pretty smooth. Okay, stopped off for some Mickey D's and check everything out, just make sure everything's still good, which I have not done yet, but I did get some food in my belly. 4:15, and I haven't eaten anything today, so that was definitely necessary. But so far everything's going really well, knock on wood. Haven't had any big problems. Check my fuel situation, see how this is looking. About half, that's fine. I don't think I'm going to do anything about that, just leave it just how it is. I didn't even fill it up all the way. I think I was like 3/4 of a tank when I left anyway, and I got both fuel tanks to work off of. Yeah, no frills, keeping temperature well. I touched this axle before and she is hot. Oh, you know what, my front one has a little dripping going on, so she's leaking. I might just kind of jump under this thing and My brakes are definitely engaged, and if she starts rolling, I'll be scared, but we'll be all right. That one feels even better than the front, so I'm sure I'm fine there. The only thing about this truck, I'm cruising at like a comfortable 63, 64, 65. Anything over than that, it starts to give me a wobble, like a shake, and it's not like a steering wheel wobble, it's more of like a up and down. And I'm wondering, I was just thinking about it as it was happening, you know, it's like only if I go above 65 mile an hour, about 2,000 RPM is where that starts to happen. And I think it might be because of the spring ride, you know, without a load on the truck. Maybe at that speed it'll start to, because again, it really did feel like it was more of like an up and down shake rather than a death wobble type of shake. So that's the thought. I mean, if you guys have experience with spring ride trucks and you've experienced that, let me know. But I mean, other than that, I'm gonna jab this thing back on the road. I don't want to waste time just sitting around chit-chatting. I think I got GPS said about 2 hours left, so I still got a good amount of the drive to go. I feel like I've been driving for forever, which I think I've been on the road for like a little over 3 hours maybe. No, it's been longer than that. It's probably been 4 hours at this point. So definitely a slow go. I mean, I don't care about how long it takes as long as I can get home in one piece. So let's see if we can't fire this thing back up. Oh yeah, check this out. The passenger window is air actuated. It's pretty nifty. Alright, fuel back on. Key is in my pocket. Key on neutral. Maybe one of my battery leads came a little undone. Okay, I was scared of that. I was going really good, and I had a thought to myself. I was like, should I even stop to check anything out, or should I just keep driving? Hopefully that's just a battery lead that came undone. Everything looks real nice and tight. I'm really hoping that my oil situation's okay and I'm not locked up. That would royally suck. Definitely batteries. I don't know why. They seem to be really juiced up before. I got no answer. I don't know. But jump pack did it, so that's all that matters. Alright. Ready to go. It says 105 miles, an hour and 45 minutes. Puts me home at 6:20. See what it actually ends up being. Beautiful day for a cruise. All right, well, we made it, and with no issue at all. I mean, the truck did great, other than that one little hiccup at the truck stop. You know, after I threw some proper voltage at it, it spun right up and fired right up. So that trip took me approximately 6 hours. I drove about 350 miles. And now that I've spent some time in the chair, before we get into why the Peterbilt's sitting here, let's go through a proper overview, what I know about the truck, and then we'll get into what I like about it, what I don't like about it. So the truck itself is a 1979 Kenworth W900. This truck and the Peterbilt are basically the same thing. In 1979, PACCAR already owned Kenworth and Peterbilt, so they were relatively similar. The general talk is that Peterbilts were typically more on the higher end of things, maybe with the interior and such, but specifically these two trucks, they're pretty bare bones. Neither one of them really came with bells and whistles per se. The Kenworth is obviously in like a deep forest green, which I love. That is a huge, huge selling point to me, just because it already has the color, and I'm a sucker for a good aged paint, you know, that patina type look. So this one already has that. That's 2 thumbs up for me. The running gear in this truck is the same exact thing as the Peterbilt. It's a Cummins big cam 400, Eaton 13-speed transmission. I believe the gear ratio is the same. It's got dual straight pipes, which I have to say sounds really, really nice. I mean, that's a slick setup. I think, you know, a lot of people, when they think of a semi-truck sound, a big cam Cummins with dual straight pipes comes to mind. I'm not going to say what's the best of the best, but a big cam Cummins with straight pipes just sounds really good. So the interior is in good shape. It's not the worst I've seen. It has the original white Kenworth steering wheel, which I love. It really is a boat wheel, though. I mean, it is a huge, huge wheel. When you get in, you kind of have to tuck your knees in behind it, but that is necessary because it, instead of like how the Peterbilt is, it's a hydraulic power steering. The Kenworth is an air assist steering, so it's definitely not as responsive as the hydraulic, but it does work well. The shifter took me a minute to figure out. They have it laying on its side for this sparkly red handle, which is pretty cool. But I have to say it's not the easiest to use. The original Eaton shift knob that has your high range selector as well as the overdrive. The overdrive is actually cut off, and the high selector plumbing lines are plumbed to the low selector because it's oriented that way, which is kind of odd, and it gets rid of your overdrive. I was cruising anywhere in between 60 to 64 the whole way home. It was a comfortable 1800 RPM. Like I mentioned on the road, with this being spring ride, by the time I would get to about 65 mile an hour, about 2000 RPM, I'd start to get a shake. And I think that's because of the spring ride without any weight on the back. Maybe. It could also just be the front suspension components. It could be the, you know, some bushings are worn out or something. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a combination of the two. Bushings worn out with the spring ride. Maybe that tends to happen. It made for a slower ride, but it was comfortable. I wouldn't have been going much faster than that anyway, if I remember correctly. I never even made it past 70 mile an hour in the Peterbilt, and I was perfectly comfortable. It's just one of those things when you're getting a feel for a new truck and you're driving a big rig that you know nothing about, can be dangerous. So I just wanted to take it nice and easy, so that was fine. I would like to pop the hood open for you guys, but I am alone.
Oh, what a loser!
And I am pretty certain I've tried doing it by myself. I think a spring is, like an assist spring is missing. And I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes out here. It's heavy, even though it's fiberglass. I can't seem to get this thing up myself.
That's what you said.
But I really want to show you, so I'm gonna put all the mustard into it. All the mustard. I didn't eat my Wheaties this morning, though. Okay, I definitely didn't love that, the whole torquing on one end thing. Uh-oh. Okay, we got it. All right, good, because I really wanted to show you this, because I did notice I was on the road and I didn't look hard enough because it's really greasy down here. These are the little bump outs that I'm talking about. That is a telltale sign that this is a big cam. And then typically it'd be stamped on the, I think it's on the oil pan itself. It usually says big cam down there, at least with this era. But this is what I want to talk about. The fact that this thing is an oily mess. I mean, it's leaking everywhere. I don't know where exactly it's coming from. Maybe we'll dig into that at some point. I know for certain that I have a leak going on at this canister here. I don't know if that's like a remote oil filter. I'm not sure. My Peterbilt definitely does not have that. That brings me to this point. I don't know how many miles are on this truck. The odometer is like 100,000, but I realized after purchase, as I was driving it home, that the speedometer doesn't work. So I'm not ticking, and I don't know how long it's been since that thing has functioned. Judging by the grease and oil buildup, that would say high miles. Judging by the interior and the pedals, doesn't seem too bad. Judging by engine health, from what I can tell, it fires right up and it does not smoke at all. And that is a huge plus with the Peterbilt. It definitely has a white smoke to it, so I'm thinking I probably got injector issues, but it's a healthy engine nonetheless. So just another thing worth noting. With that said, let me close this hood. Yeah, I think I gotta be missing like a spring or something that assists you with the opening and closing, because the Peterbilt hood is super easy to open and close. So with all that said, the reason why I have both of these trucks parked here, and the reason why I bought this Kenworth, I need to decide between the two trucks which one I want to keep. I can't afford to keep both. The way that I bought this truck was actually when I sold Barney the excavator. I flipped that money right into buying this, and that was in December. So I've actually owned this truck for a long time, but like I said, I waited this long just to get some good weather to drive it back. I was thinking that this decision was gonna be a lot easier than it is. Driving it back, my initial thought was, definitely love the Peterbilt more. And then about halfway through the drive, I was like, this ain't all that bad. I kind of like this truck more. I was getting a lot of people waving at me, looking at the truck. You know, although they're the same era, the Kenworth definitely has more of a old school vibe to it, just because of the paint and the visor, the dual stacks and such. And then I got home and I started thinking more about it, and I'm really torn in between the two. What I need from you guys is to help me decide between the Kenworth and the Peterbilt. In order to kick this conversation off, I am going to list out the pros and cons between the two trucks, in my humble opinion. And with all that information on the table, we are going to decide as a team which one we want to keep in a future video. So without further ado, let's put them up head to head, Kenworth versus Peterbilt. Let's do this intellectually. Kenworth versus Peterbilt. Mechanical. We're just gonna do a classic pros and cons list here. Pros and cons. So we'll do a pros and cons on the mechanical of both trucks. Remember that both of these are about the same year, 1980, 1979. Both of them have a big cam 400, Eaton 13 speed transmission, and about the same gear ratio as far as I know. So first up, a pro for the Kenworth. There is no smoke to speak of, whereas the Peterbilt definitely smokes. It's not the biggest deal in the world because with the Peterbilt, it smokes on startup and it smokes pretty heavy, a white smoke, so it's definitely a fueling issue. As far as the engine goes, I don't have any other mechanical issues other than a little bit of white smoke. It has power, turbo's good. I just think maybe I might have an injector that's messing up or something. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this thing is a turnkey, good running, no smoking truck. A pro for the Peterbilt. Low miles, whereas the Kenworth, miles are unknown. Can I spell miles for goodness sake? Unknown, you buffoon. Okay. Like we mentioned, the Peterbilt has lower miles, about 220,000. Yep. While the Kenworth has a tag that says 29,600, and then the odometer itself reads 78,000. So we know there's at least 100,000 miles on this, but it also doesn't work, so don't know what to say about that. Dual straight pipes, whereas the Peterbilt, nothing wrong with it, it's just a single stack and it is muffled. The dual straight pipes. This thing sounds mean and it looks great. I mean, there's nothing better than a classic truck with dual pipes on it. It's just classic. I love how the Peterbilt has this like cover over the muffler where you have this grab bar to get in. Like, that's a handy little feature. But even with straight pipes, I can put something over it like that so I get that same look, you know. Pro for the Pete, in my opinion. Hydraulic steering, whereas the Kenworth is air assist. Pro for the Kenworth, I'm counting this as mechanical, but I'm also going to put a question mark here. Frame and con, I guess, frame, because they're not far off. So the frame on this isn't a serious point, but it is worth noting that just the overall look of this frame, I think it was taken a little bit better care of than the Peterbilt. It just, you know, it's got rust, but I don't think it's as bad. It's got a little bit of rust jacking here, but this is just the mud flap holder, and a little bit of rust jacking here, which is also the mud flap holder. There aren't any rust jacking points that I've seen so far. You know, maybe a little bit, but nothing structural to speak of. Whereas the Peterbilt, it just looks a little more worn in. It's not bad by any means. I do have a little bit of rust jacking where my airbags mount up. That's probably something that that is something that I'm going to have to address in the future. It's not going to be detrimental to me right now. That's the only rust jacking that I have going on the truck, is those two rear airbags. Everything else looks good. The fifth wheel maybe a little bit, but as far as actual structural discrepancy here, it's just those two airbag mounts. Another pro for the Pete, no leaks. As for the Kenworth, it leaks everywhere. The Kenworth leaks a lot. It could be simple. It could be, you know, some loose lines for all I know. It could be a oil pan gasket where during an oil change you just throw a new gasket in. It could be as simple as that. It could be more. I haven't dug into it. If I'm going to keep this truck, I'm going to have to dig into it, because I'm not going to be getting into main seals and things of that nature where I'm really having to tear the truck apart in order to do something. But I definitely have some more leaking going on where the drive shafts hook up to the differentials, whereas I don't have any of that going on with the Peterbilt. I have a little bit of one leak with the Peterbilt, and it's just the fitting that goes into the hydraulic tank, which would be an easy fix, but I would have to drain the hydraulic tank. I'll probably do it in the future at some point. And last mechanical pro we're gonna go through, and it's a biggie. Peterbilt has a wet line. Kenworth, no wet line. The heavy hitter. As I discovered quickly with this truck, because I ran out of fuel on my way home, I have a wet line. That's what that filter there and that hookup is for. Whereas the Kenworth does not have a wet line. This is just another diesel tank here. And this is the big deal for me. My goal with one of these trucks is to pull a lowboy trailer behind me. And lowboy trailers require a hydraulic line in order to function going up and down. I think you can get them with a pony engine on them so they can function that way, but I don't have an interest in doing that. I want a wet line. It's going to come in handy. Maybe even heavy aspiration in the future, putting a dump trailer behind one of these and hauling something like stone or something for money. I don't know. You know, that's all up in the air, but regardless, it is plain and simple. Having a wet line on a truck is going to make the truck 10 times more useful for most people. So if I were to keep the Kenworth, I would without a doubt be putting a wet line kit on it. I'm interested to find out how much work that would be, and how expensive it would be. I'm not going to rob the Peterbilt's wet line to put it on this. That would be a straight investment for me. Time, more importantly than money. I'm sure to put a wet line on isn't the end of the world as far as finances go, but I'm also sure that it wouldn't be a quick one-day job either. Worth noting, but we're going to put it down here in mid. Kenworth has a Camelback or spring ride, whereas the Peterbilt has Airride. This is the big debate. The wet line is definitely the heavy hitter. Peterbilt wins as far as like a night and day mechanical things go. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about Camelback versus Airride. With this being a spring setup, I would imagine lower maintenance, because with Airride you're more susceptible to like airbags being damaged or air lines being damaged. I don't know, something like that. But then on the other end you have a much smoother ride with Airride. That's, you know, kind of a no-brainer part of it. The benefit to a Camelback suspension or a spring ride, as far as I know, is they're better off-road because you have more suspension travel. So they don't get stuck as easy. Again, this is just my layman's perspective. I don't know this by experience. For me personally, I don't really think I'm going to do much off-roading with these. The most I'll ever do is backing up to get a piece of equipment or something where I'm on a farm or something like that to go grab something. But then I'm immediately turning around and getting right back on the interstate to get back home. Does the ride comfort outweigh the upside of having less of a chance of getting stuck? Again, that's my layman's perspective, just kind of my general take. Without a doubt, I will say the Peterbilt was much more of a comfortable ride home. I mean, that's just fact. It was a much more easygoing, less stressful ride in the Peterbilt, ignoring the fact that I had dry rot tires all the way around, so I was really white knuckling it from that perspective. But like when I went and picked up my trailer, I had new tires on, so definitely much more of an enjoyable experience with the Airride versus the spring. What do you guys think? Moving on. Looks. First up for the Kenworth, we're keeping the paint, whereas the Peterbilt, we're definitely going to have to paint it. Without a doubt, I will say, yeah, I love the color of this Kenworth. I love the overall look of it in general. I just think it's a mean looking truck with that paint and the grille and the visor. I love the way that this truck looks. Unfortunately, I can't base my decision strictly off of paint. There's just something morally wrong about that. A big part of me at the beginning was heavily considering that as a real option. The fact that I don't like the white on the Peterbilt. If I keep this truck, I'm going to paint it, and that's a real consideration. I'm going to spend a couple weekends prepping and painting that truck. It will by no means be a show piece after I paint it. I'm gonna be doing it outside in the elements. I'm gonna have bugs in it. I'm sure I'm gonna have you know, imperfections in the paint. It's not going to be great, but at least it'll be what I want it to be. It's just going to take some work to get it there. With the Kenworth, yes, a definite plus. Being turnkey, I don't have to focus on the way that it looks because I already love the way it looks. Say what you want, but first pro for the Peterbilt, it's a Peterbilt. Kenworth is cool too, though. You know, say what you want about Peterbilt versus Kenworth. A Peterbilt's a Peterbilt, and that's just the way it is. It's a Peterbilt. It's cool. I mean, driving a Peterbilt down the road versus a Kenworth, you have your culty fans of both, but Peterbilt is definitely the household. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it's a truck that people want. The 359 is that classic, customizable rig. This is all generalizations. I don't care about Kenworth versus Peterbilt myself, but there is something about saying that you have a Peterbilt 359 that's just cool. It's not really that important, it's just worth noting. All right, next pro for the Kenworth, not by much. Kenworth has a longer frame. Here's a big thing that isn't really a big difference, but I will say it was noticeable enough where I got a measuring tape out to find out if this was longer. I was looking at the Peterbilt versus the Kenworth, and I was like, this thing looks longer. It just looks longer. I don't know why, but it does. And from the cab back to my tail here, it's 10 inches longer. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but again, if I was able to pick that up by eye, it is noticeable. And there is something about a longer truck that's just cooler. There's really no benefit. Quite frankly, having a shorter truck is going to make it more maneuverable, I think. It's probably mechanical benefit to having a shorter truck for me because I don't have a sleeper on it. But yeah, it is a little bit longer. The wheelbase is different. Front tire to this tire, I think, is actually shorter on this truck than that one. And then the two wheels here are further apart, whereas the Peterbilt is a little bit closer together. Peterbilt's got a good windshield, and Kenworth's is cracked in a couple spots, actually. Small note here, but it is true. There is a couple cracks in the Kenworth. You've got one down there in the corner, and then a big chip right there, and another one here. And you've got some fogging going on. It would need a new windshield. I don't think it would be that hard to change this thing out. Worth noting about the interior, I mean, I love the steering wheel. I like the red contrasting with the green because I love Christmas. And my other dump truck, St. Nick, back there is red and green. That's why I call it St. Nick. So it would be cool to kind of have a red-green contrasting truck. But again, I could achieve that if I really wanted to in the Peterbilt. The dashboard is definitely cooler in the Peterbilt. You know, you have this flat dash and regular black door cards here with a plastic roof, whereas in the Peterbilt you got, you know, your brown leather with a detail, and you got your Corvette dash, and you know, it's a cool interior. It really is. Not the end of the world for me, but I do like this one better. And if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know I'm a sucker for brown interiors, and it has a brown interior. And the last notable difference between the two as far as looks go, the Kenworth has 24.5-inch wheels. The Peterbilt has 22.5. These are a 24.5-inch Alcoa wheel, whereas those are 22.5. It makes a difference. It would also be really easy to change. But I definitely like the 24.5 better. I just think it looks beefier, cooler. Whichever truck I'm keeping, I'll just keep the 24.5-inch wheels. And that's it. And there you have it. That's everything that I'm going to talk about. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. It's going to make my decision easier for sure. Just to be frank, I've had the truck now for about a week. I've been thinking the whole time here and there, you know, positives and negatives of both, and which one I want to keep long term. And I think I am leaning more towards the Peterbilt as of right now. Truly, the main reasons are the wetline kit and the Airride. I think the Airride is going to be more suitable for me. I would rather have a more comfortable ride, just given, you know, my seat time in this one versus this one hasn't been much, but my first impressions of both. The Peterbilt's just easier to drive. And if there's one thing that I need to be certain of while I'm driving these trucks, I'm not an experienced driver. I need to be comfortable with what I'm driving. And there was just something about the Kenworth when I was driving at home, you know, with the air steering being a little wonky and the Camelback springs giving me real big jolts if I were to hit, you know, a big crack in the road or something. It's just a more comfortable ride in the Peterbilt. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. I still have not made up my mind. I think no matter what, I am going to have one more video on these trucks before I let one of them go. I'm probably going to Frankenstein some items from one to the other, depending on which one I want to keep. But we'll talk about that in a future video. So for now, do me a favor, pitch in, let me know your guys' thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Like the video, share it, all that fun stuff. You could follow me on Instagram, Facebook, the Tiki-Takis. You will be seeing more of these trucks. So with that said, I'll see y'all in the next one. But always remember, don't be afraid to grab that wrench, get after it yourself. We'll see you next time.